Hello and welcome to Family Friday. Please excuse the strange position, I'm having a dizzy day today. Today I want to talk about something pretty serious, and that's depression and suicide. Depression can be anything from mild right through to crippling, and it can even be fatal. I'm going to talk about how I deal with my depression. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm also going to give some advice for those of you that luckily have never suffered with depression, so stay tuned. So why am I choosing to talk about this? It's estimated that 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health problem. 1 in 6 will suffer anxiety or depression. And 1 in 15 will attempt to take their life. I fit all 3. Now, before we go any further, if you are experiencing suicidal thoughts at the moment, you're not alone. There are people that can help you. The Samaritans are there 24 hours a day. You can contact them on 116 123. That's 116 123. And if you don't feel like talking, just email them. Their email address is joe@samaritans.org. Now I'm going to leave the Samaritans number and their email address on the entire length of the video, and I urge you, please talk to somebody. Recently I've supported a family member through 2 suicide attempts. It was tough. Now, if you're watching this and you have attempted suicide, please phone 999 and get yourself to A&E as soon as possible. If you can't do that, ask somebody else to do it. Please. Now, if I can find the clip, I'm going to put a picture of the state I was in the first time it happened to our family member. And I know when you're feeling that low, you really don't care what anybody else thinks. It's the only way out. But there are people who care, and there are people that will be affected by your actions. So please talk to somebody. Now, I mentioned that I attempted to take my life. My attempt books all the statistics. I was 12, and you're probably thinking, but you don't know what you're doing at that age. Trust me, when you are being physically, mentally and sexually abused by a so-called boyfriend and sexually abused by a father, you do want it all to end. I was estranged from my mum. I'd been threatened that if I told anybody I was going into care. I just couldn't see a way out. Now, I did this in front of the so-called boyfriend. Now, any logical person would have tried to stop. No, he poured the glass of water. And when I lost consciousness, did he phone for an ambulance? Did he try and get help? No. He raped me. What followed was 2 days of hell, between the vomiting, waving between consciousness and unconsciousness. And thankfully, that was enough to put me off, and I'm still here to tell the tale. Now, not everybody who suffers with depression will take their own life, and sadly, it's one of those illnesses that unless you've got it, you don't understand. Now, I found a brilliant website which I will link up to, and it's 10 things that you need to know about a person suffering with depression. And the first one I want to talk about is being depressed and being sad are 2 different things. Sadness, unfortunately, is part of life. Now, obviously, depending on the circumstances, that sadness can last, or it can be over in a matter of a few days. But depression is, I'm trying to put it into words, it's constantly feeling that you've got the world on your shoulder and all you want to do is, in my person, I can only talk about myself, I want to go into my bedroom, I want to put the duvet over me and I want to stay there. And you know what? There's a lot of days I've done that. Now, Winston Churchill allegedly suffered from depression, and from his he described his depression as his black dog, and from there comes the term the black dog of depression. Now, 2 and 3, I think they come together. I don't choose to be depressed. You know, if somebody could wave a magic wand and say your depression is gone, poof, fantastic. It is a medical condition. Just because it's to do with thoughts and feelings doesn't mean it's not real. It is very, very real. And the third point is, we can't just get over it. Do you not think that a lot of people who suffer with depression, if there was a pill, they would take it? If somebody said stand on your foot for half an hour, you'd do it. You would. Sorry, I'm getting a bit wound up. You know, we don't choose to be like this. We want to be fully functioning adults like the rest of the world. And the other thing, the fourth thing, is depression, for some of us, isn't every day. We have good days, we have bad days. And when I worked, I adored working with the public, and it was like a light switch. I could just, for that moment in time, I could switch off my feelings and enjoy the customer experience. When I got home, I couldn't find that switch. But what I could find was the switch that went from this high to this low. And the other one that I want to talk about is there isn't always a reason. Now, I know my recent bout of depression, I know part of it is the grief because I lost my father. It's the grief and coming to terms with my stroke. It's accepting that, you know, there's certain things I can't do anymore. What I'd give to walk up the street without a walker. Now, what might seem like minor problems to somebody who isn't suffering with depression, to somebody who has that black dog standing over them, can feel massive. And it can feel that just that one incident, it could be a comment that somebody makes, it could be somebody's actions, it could be something, I don't know, they've looked on the internet or they've seen on the telly, or it could just be something that comes and it's just, I can't take it no more. And that's when I, up to bed, lights off, duvet over, in the fetal position sobbing. I'm a 47-year-old woman and I don't do that through choice. Sadly, that's how depression gets me. There are many different types of depression. Now, I'm not qualified to go into them all, but my first official diagnosis was postnatal depression. It comes to do with all those darn hormones that are flowing all around your body just after you've given birth. And my first experience, when I went to my GP, he was fantastic. He actually said, well done for coming. He gave me these little red pills. And then for about 2 weeks, I was a zombie. We had a friend who was going to be my son's childminder. She ended up looking after both of us because I was just sitting there going, oh look, I got a hand. I was totally zonked out of it, and it was horrible. Now, up until that point, I'd been what I seemed as a responsible parent. I was breastfeeding. Because of the medication I was on, I had to stop. There's no way I could have fed my son with those chemicals going through my body, and that made me feel even worse. Those feelings crept on when my second son was born, and there was no way I was having them little red Smarties again. So I got in touch with all my family and said, look, this is happening again, help me, you know, give me the kick up the arse that I need. And they were brilliant. Now, I thought I'd got over it. Obviously not. Ultimately, it led to our relationship breakdown. I'm not saying it was all caused by my depression. Not at all. But my apathy, because I just didn't care. That had some bearing on it. And that's how destructive depression can be. And then you can imagine my relationship broke up. I'd moved back with my parents with 2 young kids. Back then, there was no such thing as New Deal or support for single parents. I lost my job. Effectively, I was homeless for 3 or 4 months, living with mum and dad until we found a home. I could sit here and tell you this happened, that happened, but really I just don't want to bore you. But my depression's a bit like a roller coaster. There are times when I'm on an almighty high, and I don't mean a mania or a manic. Life is fantastic. During those peaks, I went back to college. I trained to be a teacher. But the lows, within 3 years out of the 4-year teaching degree, I walked away, I gave it up. Which is something I could really kick myself for now. But it just wasn't right for me at the time. So what can you do if you've got depression? Well, the worst thing you can do is what I do, or did, which is fetal position, door closed, duvet over you. As hard as it is, you've got to go out. You've got to do things. Now, I appreciate people that have panic attacks. You can't do that. I had my first ever panic attack a few weeks ago. Going out with one of my best friends. I wasn't scared. I was so looking forward to it. I was a gibbering wreck. Now, I couldn't hide that when my mum walked in the door. She's seen it straight away, and she made me a doctor's appointment. Because I'm already on antidepressants, the doctor wanted to look at, was there an underlying problem? I'd managed to lose about 4 stone in weight without even trying. Wish I could have done that a while ago. But I've lost a lot of weight. My heart feels like it's beating a tattoo in my chest. My hands feel like I've got the DTs. A headless chicken would be an apt description. Now, I was determined I was going to go out. I wasn't going to let this bother me. If I was like that when I went out, my friend would have been fantastic. Because, like I say, she's one of my best friends. She would have been brilliant. And as it was, I had a fantastic time. We had afternoon tea, and we were ladies what lunch and all the rest of it. It was fantastic. And I did film a little bit of me coming back after. And I remember thinking to myself, why? You know, why were you feeling like that? It's not logical. But that's what depression and panic is. It's not logical. That was was that the Thursday? On the Monday, I got up, came downstairs, had another panic attack. Now, all I was doing was trying to make the effort to get out of bed and come down the stairs. And that was it. I was back up in my prison again, my cell, my safety zone. But actions like that make your black dog get bigger and stronger. Matthew Johnston has written a book about his black dog of depression. He's also released a video with the World Health Organization, and I will leave a link below. And I'd just like to read you a few words of his poem. I had a black dog. His name was Depression. Whenever the black dog made an appearance, I felt empty and life seemed to slow down. He could surprise me with a visit for no reason or occasion. The black dog made me look and feel older than my years. And the rest of the world seemed to be enjoying life, but I could only see it through the black dog. Activities that usually brought me pleasure suddenly ceased to. He liked to ruin my appetite. He chewed at my memory and ability to concentrate. Doing anything or going anywhere with the black dog required superhuman strength. At social occasions, he would sniff out any confidence I had and chase it away. My biggest fear was being found out. I worried that people would judge me. And it continues on. It's an amazing poem, and it's been animated on YouTube, and I will leave the link below. Now, there are lots of treatments for depression. If it's minor, it may just be monitoring with the doctor. It could be medication, antidepressants. It could be counselling. It could be mindfulness. Or it could need more medical intervention, it depends. Now, one type of depression, aptly called SAD, seasonal affective disorder, affects sufferers in the winter months. And although it hasn't been proven, the general thought is it has a lot to do with the longer nights, the shorter days. It's also thought that the hormone serotonin has an effect. Serotonin is what affects your appetite, your mood, and your sleep. And I know you can buy light boxes, but we're coming up to the beginning of June. The weather's been beautiful, apart from today. And the general thought is that 20 minutes of sunlight every day, obviously with protective sunscreen, that will help boost your serotonin levels, which will affect your mood, your sleep, and your appetite. And I'm trying to do that. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes in one go. I go and sit out in the garden for 5 minutes and play with the cats. Another thing that I found very helpful, I've had counselling and CBT and, like I say, medication. But a very wise lady I work with once referred to somebody as one of life's victims. I'd never heard that term before. What's one of those? She says, oh, you know, they're the sort of person that just waits for the next thing to go wrong. They can't be happy because something's going to go wrong. And it was a light bulb moment. That's me. You know, it was like, oh, yeah, I'm feeling happy, but what's going to happen? And the person she was talking about, great bloke, but he could bring you down. And I thought, is that what I'm doing to people? So I made a conscious effort to try and turn that around. And I don't mean like positive affirmations or anything like that, but hey, if that works for you, great. But it was trying to find the positive. And even if it was something as silly as, I got to work in time to have a cup of tea before I started. Oh, that light was on green instead of on red. I didn't go overdrawn at the bank this month. Crazy things like that, you might think, but they're major steps. I'm not saying it was easy, because the black dog is pretty much there feeding you all the negativity. So it is a battle, and I did that and it worked for a time. But then when you're not consciously making an effort, old habits slip back. And this time that's what I'm trying to do, is find a positive. Now my positive now, because I can't drive, isn't going to be that I've passed a green light. One that I posted on Instagram the other day was somebody actually commented on the picture of my crochet. You know, that was massive for me. The day before, I couldn't find a positive in my life, but I found some amazing mugs related to crochet and humour. Now, that made me laugh. That's a positive. But also being honest. It's not about burying your head in the sand or like a tortoise, putting your head back in the shell. You've got to help yourself. Like I said before, if there was such a thing as one magic pill that when you took it, you're going to feel fantastic and on top of the world, I'd take it. But even with antidepressants, they're not magic pills. It can take 2 to 3 months before you start to feel a difference. And personally for me, the first month, I thought I was going through puberty again. Oh, the mood swings, the tears, the tantrums. It took a while for my body to get used to them. And I've tried cutting down. Not with my doctors, okay? And I can feel the difference. So before you consider doing that, I would urge you, please talk to your GP. So I'm talking to those lucky people now that you've never suffered with depression, and hats off to you. And I don't mean that sarcastically, I genuinely mean it. So how can you support somebody you know is suffering with depression? The first thing, don't try to fix them. You can't. That's the reason why there's doctors and there's counsellors and there's the medical teams there to support them. But there are things that you can do. The first thing is to let them know that you're there and you care. Now that could be a phone call, it could be a chat online, it could be a text, it could be an email. Just drop a line to say, I'm thinking about you. And don't judge them. You could also encourage them to get the help that they needed. Now, just because you've got that information doesn't mean somebody's going to hop straight on the phone, make an appointment and sort it out. They've got to be ready to do that. But you can encourage them and support them. And 2 more things. The first is be patient. I know it's difficult when you get back up and you get knocked down 1,000 times and you think, what's the point? It could be that 1,001th or 1,001st time that they're actually ready to do something about it. And the final point, which is a very, very important point, is look after yourself. I'm not saying depression is contagious, but I know from my own experience, I take on everybody else's problems, which then makes me feel bad. Yes, it may be your best friend, it may be your sister, mum, dad, whoever, somebody that you really, really love, and you want to help them. You want to help them, but not at the expense of your own health. Now, this description is going to be full of links. Here's another one for somebody who is supporting a person with depression. Here are some of the things, if you suspect depression, you should be looking out for these things. They've lost interest in things that they usually love. You know, might be going to the pub, might be going to watch the football. Mind you, in my personal experience, watching football sometimes probably better that I didn't go. They can be fidgety, they can be restless, or they may be more tired, more lethargic. It could be either. How's their appetite? Are they eating more than they normally do? Are they eating less than they normally do? How do you know what their sleeping pattern's like? Are they sleeping a lot longer, or are they suffering with insomnia? That's me. And do they have trouble concentrating, even if it's just watching the telly? Are they getting impatient and, oh, I can't be bothered with this? And there's another example, getting irritable and tearful. Now, all those symptoms doesn't mean, yes, you've got depression, but it may point to that. And like I say, just support the person and encourage them to talk. One of the things I personally find when I'm feeling strong enough to do it is to talk. Now, that doesn't mean that I talk to somebody and they try and fix what's wrong. They just listen. And sometimes just getting it all off your chest is enough to make you lift a little bit higher. I'm not going to say you're then going to be on top of the world. It's that old saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. And as Maureen Lipman once said on TV advert, it's good to talk. So please, how do you cope with your depression? What tips can you share with people? Drop a comment below. Like I say, if you are suffering with suicidal thoughts, please contact the Samaritans. I'll also put another link at the bottom for the NHS, and there is a myriad of different help organisations you can find help for. If you have attempted to take your own life, phone 999 or get somebody to phone it for you. Please. Now, if just one person watching this is encouraged to take a positive action to help themselves, then this video has been worthwhile. I also encourage you to share it for those that maybe aren't ready to help themselves, but if nothing else, to tell them that they're not alone, because depression is so isolating. You don't want to be a burden to anybody. You're fed up of feeling miserable, so you just shut yourself away. And if you like find the positive that I was talking about, I'm doing that on Instagram. I'll put my Instagram in the bottom below as well, and let's see if we can get it trending. Thanks for listening, and remember, you're not alone. Take care.